from Mahatma Phule to Kamarajar in Tamil Nadu, was striving for an egalitarian society. From this inspiration, as student conveners, the YHRD motto we framed is Discuss, Act, Change, which was inspired from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's lines, Educate, Organize and Agitate. From Mahatma Phule, I would also like to add on a saying of Bhagat Singh at this time. Bombs and pistols do not make revolution. The sword of revolution is sharpened on the whetting stone of ideas. With this in our minds, I warmly invite Dr. Miriam Samuel, Head Department of Social Work in Madras Christian College, to give welcome address.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Kavitha, for inviting me to give the welcome address. I'm very, very happy to welcome each of you gathered here this morning for this inauguration.
Participants, please turn off your mic.
Yeah, technical team, please take care. Keep switching off the mute them as soon as they enter. Yeah, I think these are the problems of being in a virtual world where we have no control over certain things. But anyway, on that note, I'm very, very happy to welcome you all and to be connected to so many people on this virtual platform this morning. It is my privilege and honor to welcome you all to this virtual inauguration of the Young Human Rights Defenders Club, organized by our fieldwork students, Miss Kavitha, who has just welcomed us in the beginning, and Mr. Salamon, who are doing their virtual placement with People's Watch. So what this program is part of their requirements for the virtual fieldwork placement. Now, as you're aware, the Department of Social Work is part of Madras Christian College, which is an academic institution, and the department upholds the values of the college, which is built on academic excellence, social relevance, and spiritual vitality. It is in the context of this that we have to be socially relevant to the needs, and also to be in accordance with the changes that are taking place around us, that our fieldwork students are encouraged to organize programs in line with the mission of the department that offers a human rights and value-based Masters in Social Work training program. It is towards this end that this club is initiated, to equip students through training in human rights, to equip young people through training in human rights, to enrich their knowledge and skills in the area of human rights, and to evolve a culture of respect and dignity so that young people will stand up for the rights of all. I think this is the main agenda of this Human Rights Club, that we really evolve a culture of respect and dignity, and we enable young people to stand up for rights through practicing the rights that are already enshrined in our Constitution. To this initiative, I'm very happy to welcome our chief guest, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, Advocate, Supreme Court of India, who will speak on the freedom of expression. Sir, we are really privileged and honored to have you on this platform. I think this kind of a virtual world is enabling all of us to connect to each other, to really share knowledge. I don't think otherwise young people across the country would have been able to come together like this to really speak on why we need to be human rights defenders. Sir, thank you so much for agreeing to be here to this program that our students have organized. And we really look forward to listening to you through this academic platform on why young people have to be human rights defenders, and why the freedom of expression is very, very important within the Indian context. I know we are in a stage where there have been a lot of issues that we've been reading about, very especially the latest rape cases that have come up. And we know that as a country, we are all together in this. And we really have to speak up against these rights violations that are taking place, irrespective of which group it happens to. And very especially when it happens to the vulnerable and the poor, the marginalized, people who really cannot speak out. I think we really need to be there to understand what our role is as social work students. I would also like to welcome into our midst Mr. Henry Tufane, Executive Director of People's Watch. I know this is part of their program because these two students are placed there. But nevertheless, sir, I'm so happy to be connected with you again. You're no stranger to the department, and we really enjoyed every time we've listened to you and your visit to the college on so many different occasions. You have been a motivation to our students. Thank you so much for organizing this along with our students. The others who are here, Mr. Asirvadam and the professors from the Department of Social Work and the college who are here, NGO representatives, colleagues from other colleges who are here, a warm welcome to all of you. And a warm welcome to all our participants. I see on my screen that we have almost 254 participants already on the platform. A warm welcome to you all. And we really hope that this morning will be a useful session as we are at home today looking at Gandhi Jayanti, that we really look at it in the right spirit and really look at this context of human rights in India. So with these few words, I very warmly welcome all of you, and very especially our guest of honor for this day. Thank you very much, and a warm welcome again.
Thank you for the warm welcome, ma'am. Now, I would like to introduce and invite Mr. Salamon Raja, the co-convener, to give a detailed note on Young Human Rights Defenders Club.
Thank you, Kavitha. I like to share the screen, which I like to present now. Kavitha, are you able to? Kavitha, are you able to see my?
Yeah, Salamon.
Am I visible?
Yes, it is visible. Put it into slideshow. Yes, go ahead, Ma. Solomon, it is fine. Please go ahead. We can't hear you.
Mr. Solomon, you're in mute.
Sorry for the inconvenience. Yes, I'd like to thank, first of all, I'd like to thank our department and People's Watch for giving us this great opportunity. And also, I'd like to welcome all the participants who showed interest towards us. Thank you so much for once again to everyone. Dear all, hope you all are safe and sound in this COVID-19. And we as student organizers, myself, Solomon and Kavitha, as part of our fieldwork curriculum, we initiated this Young Human Rights Defenders Club in the Department of Social Work, aided Madras Christian College, in collaboration with our fieldwork placement People's Watch organization. As human rights are the base for all the themes that we are going to learn and work in the field, we believe there should be a platform to create awareness about all the societal issues from a human rights perspective, to control the biases among the students in the education institution. We designed this YHRD club, that is Young Human Rights Defenders Club, to discuss and debate the ideologies among ourselves to be a better civilian of our country. The spark of initiating a club like YHRD came up when we organized webinars on custodial torture and caste arrogant killings, where we got this idea from, we got inspired from our investigative human rights defender, Mr. Henry Defensor, who is the executive founder of People's Watch. Our vital motive is to discuss and to promote social action from a human rights perspective. Before introducing my club's vision, I like to quote, as Che Guevara says, always be capable of feeling deeply any injustice committed against anyone, anywhere in the world. And that is a beautiful quality of revolutionary. Yes, we need revolutionists. And that is what all our human rights defenders are fighting to do this today. Our bodies can decay, but not our thoughts and ideologies. And that's the vision of our club came. That is, our vision is to create awareness among youths to pursue issues from the human rights perspective. That is, discuss, act, change is the ultimate vision to inculcate in the minds of young people. And our mission is to speak against injustice by print media, conference, social media, etc., and to defend the violations of human rights that takes place in the society. And also, I'd like to tell about our objectives, how we're going to work for this vision and mission. Our objectives are to educate youth about their rights, to raise voice for the voiceless through campaigns, to conduct discussions and conferences, and to defend legally to ensure the proper action takes place at crisis by using a social action method, which we are learning currently from our professional course, Master of Social Work. And also, we are trying to release many newsletters and articles. And also, I like to tell about our initial plans, which we are going to do next. That is, we are going to initiate. We like to initiate with a certification course that on defending human rights violation for students and youths. That because that is our main focus through this club. This is a 5 days course. We are going to concentrate on basic concepts of human rights and about human rights violations and importance of human rights defenders and what are the methods that we can use to defend the human rights violations that prevailing in our society. The more details we like to give in a briefly later. And also next, as a part of our curriculum, fieldwork curriculum, we like to implement rights education for the irregular community through our field action project. And I like to finish with this introducing YHRD club with my quote in Tamil. நம்முடைய கற்றலும் கற்பித்தலும் தான் மாற்றத்தை உண்டாக்கும் அதுவே நாளைய சமுதாயமாக உருவாகும். I like to repeat, நம்முடைய கற்றலும் கற்பித்தலும் தான் மாற்றத்தை உருவாக்கும் அதுவே நாளைய சமுதாயமாக உருவாகும். Let me unite against injustice. Let me join us to discuss, act, change. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salamon, for the detailed note. I hope you all have got an understanding about purpose and objectives of this club. Instruction for the participants: kindly mute your mic and turn off your video during the session. If you have any question during the session, comment on the chat box. In case if you face any network issue, join on the MCCSWD YouTube live stream or People's Watch Facebook live stream, and the link will be provided in the chat box. Moving to the crux of today's event, with great pleasure, I would like to invite Mr. Prashant Bhushan, advocate in the Supreme Court of India. He was drawn to public activism, and his main areas of interest have been human rights, environmental protection, and accountability of the public servants. He is associated with various organizations including the Center for Public Interest Litigation, People's Union for Civil Liberties, and Transparency International. He is also the convener of the campaign for judicial accountability and judicial reforms. Now, on this occasion, he will share his insight and knowledge on India's state freedom of expression. Over to you, sir.
So good morning, everybody. It's indeed a pleasure and an honor to be asked to speak about the freedom of expression in India to the Young Human Rights Defenders Club. I firstly congratulate the club and the people who helped to form the club, that is the Madras Christian College, Human Rights Watch, and the Social Institute, who have come together to help form this club. It's really important for the youth of this country to be conscious of, aware of, and engaged in human rights activities and defending human rights and defending human rights defenders. So I'm very happy that this initiative has been taken. So in order to understand the state of freedom of expression in India today and the importance of freedom of expression in India, we first need to understand why this was made into a fundamental right under our constitution. See, the basis for freedom of expression is that we are a democracy. And in a democracy, things have to be done decisions have to be taken broadly in accordance with the wishes of the people. And therefore, it's very important for the people to be able to freely express themselves about what is happening in society, about any important public issue, about the state of the institutions in the country, what the government is doing, what it is doing right, what it is doing wrong, what various other institutions or regulatory institutions that have been created under the Constitution are doing or not doing. So, and also the decisions being taken by them, including institutions like the judiciary or election commission or the human rights commissions, etc., etc. Now, the Supreme Court had held in many cases, starting from that case of Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayan in 1974, that if you have to have, if freedom of expression is to be meaningful, then there also needs to be transparency about what is going on in society, what various public institutions and public authorities are doing, so that the people have a right to get information about everything that is happening with their public institutions. It is only when they are aware of what the public institutions and public authorities are doing that they can meaningfully and purposively express themselves by way of saying what is right and what is wrong, etc. And that right to information includes the right to be informed about laws that are being made in the country. In fact, one of the crucial deficiencies that we have today is that before Parliament makes any law, or before the government takes any important policy decision, we, the people, are not informed as to what law is being proposed to be made, what major policy decision is going to be taken, or what important appointments to important public authorities are going to be made. So today, we are not informed about who are going to be appointed as election commissioners, who is going to be appointed as director CBI, who is going to be appointed as judges. So these are very, very crucial positions in public institutions, about whose appointments also we need to know in order to meaningfully exercise our right to free speech. So unless we know who is going to be appointed as a judge, we cannot even point out that, look, this person is totally unfit to be a judge for the reason that he is not adhering to even the basic principles of the Constitution. So these days there are people being appointed as judges who, if you see their social media posts, etc., are totally communal. So they cannot be expected to subscribe to the basic principle of secularism under the Constitution. Now, we have to therefore see freedom of speech and expression as it obtains today in the country in the light of these principles that I have just pointed out. Today, what we are seeing is that there is an attack on people who express themselves freely and who criticize the government or public authorities. Many of them are charged with sedition. Now, sedition is a totally colonial law which was made by the British to prevent people from what they called spreading disaffection against the government. So it was a colonial law brought by a colonial government to prevent people from who were considered to be their subjects or their slaves. It was not a free country. And therefore, for these subjects of the British government to criticize the British government and to promote disaffection against it was considered to be a serious offense of sedition. Now, this law has no place in a democratic country where people are fully entitled to express their disaffection against the government and what it is doing. It is the fundamental right of every citizen. The freedom of speech involves the right to be able to criticize the government and indeed any public authority or any institution for what it is doing. And since in a democracy we have a right to even change our government by way of election, we have a right to promote or create disaffection against the government if we feel that the government is doing things which are totally wrong and unconscionable. So, unfortunately, this law, this colonial law, is still in our statute book. It is still part of the Indian Penal Code. And despite the fact that the Supreme Court way back in 1962 said that if it is to be interpreted literally, then it is violative of the fundamental right of free speech. And therefore, it has to be read down to mean that the offense of sedition will only be made out if somebody incites people to overthrow a government by violence or by creating public disorder. But despite that clarification by the Supreme Court, today we are seeing hundreds of people who just criticize the government or make fun of the government or draw a cartoon of the Prime Minister or the Chief Minister, etc. They are being charged under the law of sedition for creating disaffection against the government. Now, this is a very, very unfortunate thing that is still being allowed to happen. We went to the Supreme Court about 4 years ago, pointing out that, look, despite the Supreme Court having said in 1962 that sedition law should not be applied like this, the way in which it is being applied and used, and that it shall only apply if there is a call to create, to overthrow the government by violence or public disorder. And therefore, in order to ensure that it is not misused, you must pass an order saying that before this law is used, before even an FIR is registered under sedition, the Director General of Police, the highest police officer of the state, must state in writing that he has examined this matter and he has found that this case involves a call to overthrow the government by violence or by creating public disorder. And without that, no offense of sedition should be registered even as an FIR. But unfortunately, the Supreme Court did not say that. They said, we have already said in 1962, and those directions should be followed, with the result that it is still being rampantly misused. The other way, there are many other ways in which the freedom of speech is being suppressed, is through the use of these very draconian laws like the National Security Act, the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. These are two laws in which, under the National Security Act, the government can detain people preventively for 6 months at a time. This is the law which was used to detain, which has been used to detain even former chief ministers of J&K, like this lady. Many people were detained using this National Security Act for no good reason at all. Government just says that they feel that he is a threat to national security and therefore he should be detained. It was done merely to stop them from speaking out in public against what had been done to Kashmir by way of abolishing Article 370, which was a solemn promise made to the people of Kashmir when Kashmir acceded to India, and by way of making Kashmir from a state, or reducing Kashmir from a state to a union territory, or rather carving it into 3 union territories. Similarly, this Dalit leader Chandrasekhar Azad was also detained under the National Security Act earlier for almost a year. Then you have the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, which is also being used to stifle or to victimize activists, students, and even members of the minority community who are speaking out against, for example, the Citizenship Amendment Act, which was brought, which is a clearly discriminatory law, which clearly discriminates against Muslims in the matter of citizenship. And therefore, there were widespread protests, which were very peaceful protests, led by some of, mostly by Muslim women, and which were supported by many of our finest human rights activists, and rightly supported by our human rights activists, that this is an unconstitutional discriminatory law, and therefore people should protest against such a discriminatory law. Now, again, using this totally draconian Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, a lot of people have been detained under this. In this law, if you are detained under this law, it's almost impossible to get bail. And we know that even investigations in these matters continue for years altogether. And thereafter, the trials continue for several more years. Similarly, people like Sudha Bharadwaj, Anand Teltumle, etc., have been detained using this law for what is known as the Bhima Koregaon case, where an absolutely absurd charge has been made against them that they were plotting to kill the Prime Minister, etc. Totally absurd. And yet, some of our finest human rights activists are detained for more than 2 years under that law, and the trial is yet to begin. So these draconian laws are another way of stifling freedom of speech. All the investigative agencies, from the CBI to the National Investigating Agency, to the Enforcement Directorate, to the Income Tax Department, all of them are being, and now the Narcotics Control Bureau is being used to just hound people who are critical of the government. Deepika Padukone is being hounded by the Narcotics Control Bureau merely because she came to Jawaharlal Nehru University to express support for the students who were protesting there. So therefore, all these agencies are also being used by the government, including the police. The Delhi police is being used to harass and hound some of our finest human rights activists and defenders in the guise of investigation of a conspiracy for the Delhi riots. This investigation by the Delhi police has itself become a conspiracy by the Delhi police to target, harass, and intimidate human rights activists and students, etc. Then we have lynch mobs, which have lynch mobs who have been let loose on the streets and on the social media. And these lynch mobs target people who are critical of the government, who exercise their freedom of speech to criticize the government, and those who are in authority. The lynch mobs are also targeting the minorities, especially Muslims, because the people who are in power want to convert India into a Hindu Rashtra, where people from other religions and especially Muslims will be reduced to second-class citizens. So, and on the social media and the media also, we have lynch mobs. The large sections of the mainstream media has been brought under control by the government and is being used to hound, to target human rights defenders, those who are critical of the government, to spread hate, to spread misinformation, etc. And social media, which is controlled, the BJP's IT cell, which is controlled by the Prime Minister himself, as Swati Chaturvedi pointed out in her book, I Am a Troll, is also being used to abuse and to threaten people who speak critically of the government. So there is a lynch mob on the streets, as well as on the social media, as well as on the mainstream media. And here, it was the job of the judiciary, the higher judiciary, the high courts and the Supreme Court, to protect these, the freedom of speech and other fundamental rights of the citizens, and to protect democracy and the attack on democratic institutions, and to protect our constitution. That is the role assigned to the higher judiciary by our constitution. But unfortunately, we see that the Supreme Court in the last 6 years has spectacularly failed to do the job that has been assigned to them by the Constitution. And that is what I had said in one of my tweets, which was thereafter made the subject matter of contempt proceedings against me. I had said that when historians look back at the last 6 years to see how democracy has been destroyed in this country without even a formal emergency, they will particularly mark the role of the Supreme Court, which allowed this destruction of democracy, as well as the role of the last 4 Chief Justices. Now, I was expressing my view, which I have a right to do under my fundamental right of free speech, to criticize the government, to criticize the judiciary, etc., and the role that they have played or not played during the last 6 years. That's my fundamental right. But for that, this contempt case was started against me, and eventually I was held guilty of contempt and sentenced. Eventually, though it was a token sentence of just a 1 rupee fine, but the alternative sentence was 3 months in jail and 3 years being debarred from practicing in the Supreme Court. So if you criticize the judiciary, then you are liable to be hauled up for contempt of court. And contempt, as I said, you see, I'll briefly explain that contempt is of broadly 2 kinds. One is civil contempt, which is disobedience of a court's order, and the other is criminal contempt. Now, criminal contempt is also divided into 2 parts. One is interference with court proceedings or with the administration of justice. This is one part. There is no problem with this either. If somebody, for example, doesn't allow court proceedings to go on, starts jumping on at the table of the judge, or he threatens a judge, or threatens a lawyer or a witness, that if you depose like this, I will break your leg, etc., that is clearly interference with the administration of justice or interference with court proceedings, which should be punishable. The problem is with the second part of criminal contempt, which is scandalizing the court or lowering the authority of the court. This is one branch of contempt which can only be committed by your speech, where unfortunately, which has been used to punish people who have merely criticized the judiciary or any judge, etc. This part of criminal contempt has been done away with virtually in every other democratic country. It is still surviving only in India, and it is being used by the judiciary to stifle criticism of the judiciary. Then I come to the state of the right to information and transparency in this country, which is an important aspect of free speech. Today, what we are seeing, though a very, very good law was passed in 2005 called the Right to Information Act, under which every citizen has a right to obtain all information about any public authority. But today, and for that, independent information commissions were created to administer that act. But today, information commissions are not functional, partly because they have not appointed people to those information commissions. In many cases, even when people have been appointed, they are not independent of the government. They are bureaucrats, etc., who themselves want to hide information about what they had done when they were in office, etc. Retired bureaucrats have been appointed who are not independent. And in any case, information commissions are today reeling under lots of cases and are not able to decide cases within time. So therefore, that is one way of stifling the Right to Information Act, which is what is being done. And we are not able to even get information about funds which have been created by the Prime Minister, like the PM Cares Fund. We don't know how much funds are being collected. They are denying information. Even though this PM Cares Fund has been created officially by the government, it is administered by some few people, including the Prime Minister. They are not even giving any information about the trust deed. It's supposed to be some kind of a trust which has been created. No information about how much money has been collected, no information about how much money has been spent, where it has been spent, how it has been spent, etc. The government has told Parliament they are not even giving this information to Parliament. They are saying that we will not even inform Parliament about this PM Cares Fund. They have told Parliament that we have no data about the number of migrants who died during this lockdown. No data about the number of doctors or police officers who died during the lockdown. No data about unemployment that has been generated due to the lockdown. No data about the medium and small industries which have shut down during this lockdown. They have virtually shut down the National Sample Survey Organization, whose job was to collect information about unemployment and state of the economy, etc. That has been virtually shut down, and they have been told not to collect information, and even if they collect some information, not to release that information to the public. So what we are seeing today in this country is a complete erosion of every value or every vestige of democracy. There is an attack on our fundamental rights, on freedom of speech, etc. There is an attack on minorities. There is an attack on all the regulatory institutions created under the Constitution to protect democracy, including the judiciary, including the Election Commission, including the Controller and Auditor General, including the National Human Rights Commission, including the Lokpal. All institutions have been rendered either dysfunctional or they have been brought under the control or under the heel of the government. Today is Gandhi Jayanti, and if we recall what were the values that the Mahatma stood for, he stood for truth. Today, truth is under attack. The government is involved and the media is involved in spreading all kinds of falsehood. The Prime Minister goes and tells children that there is no such thing as climate change. There is an attack on scientific temper. He goes and inaugurates the Reliance Hospital in Mumbai, and there he says that in ancient India, We had practiced the fine art of plastic surgery because Lord Ganesha's trunk was stitched up by a fine plastic surgery. I mean, this is the kind of things which are being propagated by the Prime Minister, and his other ministers are propagating that coronavirus will go away if you bang your thalis and say, go Corona, go. Coronavirus will go away if you eat my brand of papad. These are ministers, central ministers who are saying all these things. So truth is under attack, scientific temper is under attack, non-violence is under attack, which was a very important value that the Mahatma stood for. There are violent mobs who have been let loose on the streets. There are rapists and murderers who have been let loose in UP, and the police has also become what Justice A.N. Mullah called in the 1950s. He said that the UP police is the largest organized criminal gang in the country. And that is what we are seeing, that the police have become organized criminal gangs. Minorities are under attack. India is being reduced to a Hindu Rashtra, which is going to be highly detrimental for this country, because our religious, cultural, linguistic diversity is a great asset for this country. Far from being a liability, is a great asset for this country. And we want to reduce it into a Hindu Rashtra. I mean, this government wants to reduce it. Dalits are under attack. We are seeing every day there are attacks on Dalits all over the country, especially in BJP ruled states, etc. The poor are under attack. Gandhiji used to say, Gandhiji stood for minorities, stood for Dalits, stood for the poor. He said, when you think of a problem, think of what would be, when you think of what you need to do in a particular situation, think of how it will affect the last man, the weakest man, the poorest man. And today, there is no thinking about the poor at all. This farmers bill or farmers laws which have been just passed, I mean, by throwing all the rules into the winds. I mean, they have been passed without even a vote in the Rajya Sabha, where they had a minority. The government was not in a majority. They would have lost the vote there. Despite the rules saying that even if one MP asks for a vote, you have to have a vote, they passed the bill without even voting. I mean, the deputy chairman declared that the bills are passed. And the bills are for what? It is for removing the minimum support price for agricultural produce, for crops, etc. It is for doing away with the regulation of trade between a poor, helpless farmer and these large corporates, etc. Under this new law, large companies will be able to just privately make deals with these poor farmers without any oversight, without any regulation, without the minimum support price. Due to this lockdown, many crore people have lost their jobs. Poor migrant workers have lost their jobs, who don't even have the money to get food, and nothing for their children's education, nothing for their other needs, etc. And government is not doing anything at all to deal with their problems. There is an attack on tolerance. There is an attack on civilized discourse itself. So, so the question is, what would Gandhi have done today? And what is the role of the young people in this country today? In my view, if Gandhi had been alive today, he would have launched a massive civil disobedience movement. Massive civil disobedience movement. He would have said that we will not obey these. Gandhi used to say that it is not only our right, it is our duty to disobey fundamentally unjust laws. And we should be prepared. Of course, we should do it peacefully, non-violently. And we should be prepared to face the consequences. If they want to put lakhs of people in jail, let them put lakhs of people in jail. People should lose the fear of going to jail, and then only these people will realize. So therefore, he would have launched a massive movement against these unjust laws like the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, like the National Security Act, like this farmers law that has been passed, and indeed against what is being done to our democracy and democratic institutions. And that is what the youth of this country need to do. You see, the country belongs to the youth.
Participants, please mute your mic.
The country is the future of this country belongs to the youth of this country. They are the main stakeholders in our society because they have their lives ahead of them. We have lived most of our lives, but the youth of this country have their lives ahead of them. They are also the people who have the maximum energy, and the youth are also the people who have the maximum new ideas. And that is why the youth have to play a major role in reclaiming our republic. Right now, I feel the time has come for the youths to get together, organize themselves, and launch a massive movement in this country against unemployment and for the right to employment. When the Supreme Court declared that the right to life includes the right to live a dignified life, then it means at least the right to have minimal employment for people. There is no reason why a law like the Rural Employment Guarantee Act should not be extended to all adults in the country. Every adult in the country has to be given the right to be given employment for at least half the year at minimum wages. This law should be brought. And there is no reason why the youth cannot and should not launch a massive movement in the country for the right to employment. Similarly, there has to be a movement against the destruction, this all around destruction of democracy that we are seeing and democratic institutions that we are seeing in this country. There has to be a movement against these unjust laws and the targeting of activists, minorities, and students by the use of these unjust laws. And let me tell everybody that though this COVID is being used to prevent democratic activity and prevent protests in the country, I think the time has come for people to lose the fear of COVID. In my view, COVID is not as serious a problem as it has been made out to be. If your immune system is okay and intact, nothing will happen to you due to any COVID infection. Therefore, we have to lose this fear, because otherwise they will just suppress all democratic activity for months and years to come, because they don't want any democratic activity and any public protest to take place. Therefore, we have to lose that fear and come out on the streets also. We have to use the media, the alternative media, the social media, as well as come out on the streets on a massive movement on the issue of employment, on the issue of democracy, and on the targeting of our activists, youth, as well as minorities using these unjust laws. And therefore, the time has come for the youth of this country to get together and galvanize. And I am sure that the Young Human Rights Defenders Club that has been made, that has been formed, will play a very, very significant role in this movement of the youth in the time to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It is a great honor to have you with us. Also, thank you for enlightening us with your perspectives on right to be informed, draconian unlawful acts, and unemployment and migrant issues, and also touching more branches of societal issues prevailing in the society. Now we will move on to the Q&A session. Due to time constraints, we have a few consolidated questions. So, what is your opinion about the farm bills that were passed in the parliament by the central government? Even most of the farmers and opposition parties opposed for it. Will the bill benefit the farmers?
No, in my view, the bill does not benefit the farmers. It is designed to essentially do away with any minimum support price for farmers for crops, because now it bypasses. You see, there were many problems with these agricultural produce market committees, that is these mandis, etc., which needed to be set right. But instead of setting them right, the government wants to do away with all regulation of the purchase and sale of farmers' crops and agricultural produce, and allow a free run to corporates to buy directly from farmers without any minimum support price. And that will eventually destroy the mandis as well as the regulation of the price, or providing a minimum support price to farmers. So therefore, in my view, this is not in the interest of farmers at all, and that is why all the farmers' organizations are up in arms against it. And it is very unfortunate that it was passed in this totally illegal manner without even a proper vote in the Rajya Sabha, because the government did not have a majority in the Rajya Sabha.
Second question, sir. Can you please explain, sir, whether India is following the equality in its society and in the caste and religion discrimination among the individuals of the huge masses?
In India, as we are seeing, there is not only massive discrimination being practiced all over. I mean, the Citizenship Amendment Act was a discriminatory law discriminating against Muslims. But we are seeing sort of massive atrocities on Muslims and Dalits in the country today. More than any laws, etc., they are being beaten up. All kinds of atrocities are being done upon Muslims and Dalits in this country. It's a very, very alarming situation. It's a very unfortunate and very alarming situation. We are seeing this happening, these kind of caste atrocities on Dalits and atrocities on Muslims every day in this country. It's something which has become a very, very serious menace towards Muslims and Dalits in this country. And this is essentially because this ruling government, the BJP, is essentially a casteist and communal government. It's essentially a Brahminical, Hindu Brahminical government, and they want to create that kind of Hindu Brahminical order in this country and take us back to the medieval ages, so to say.
It's routine.
Sir, what is your views on media's questioning the opposition instead of the government? They usually say that almost every national institution, including Supreme Court, is being pocketed by the ruling party. What is your take on how we can attain justice, sir?
Yes, unfortunately, a large section of the mainstream media has completely collapsed, and it is now doing what the government wants it to do, which is firstly to raise only communal issues and try and polarize and communalize people by spreading hate against the minorities, by sometimes through even fake news. And secondly, to divert attention from major issues and real issues facing the country towards irrelevant issues like this death of Sushant Singh Rajput, which was covered by the media for months altogether, in order to divert people's attention from real issues like unemployment, farmers' issues, or the destruction of institutions. So the media has been largely subverted, but fortunately, there is still the alternative media through the internet media, as well as social media, which is not totally under government control. Of course, social media has its pluses and minuses. If you see the film called The Social Dilemma, which is on Netflix, it tells you how the social media has become a way for creating polarization in the country. Polarization, uh, this sort of bludgeoning the ability of the people to distinguish between truth and falsehood, and helping to create what is called a post-truth society. So, but still, one good thing about the social media is that it is a more democratic instrument than the mainstream media, because you don't require large funds in order to propagate your views through the social media. There are individuals like Dhruv Rathi or Akash Banerjee who, without any funds, are able to reach out to a very large number, to millions of people through their YouTube channels, etc. So, but yes, the state of the judiciary is quite alarming. And as I said earlier, the Supreme Court in particular has singularly failed to protect democracy and democratic institutions in the country, and including freedom of speech, etc. And that is something which we have to take serious note of and do something about, by way of running at least a major campaign for judicial reforms, which will include making the judiciary more accessible, having better judges by way of having a better selection and more transparent selection procedure, having a proper system of accountability for judges, doing away with post-retirement jobs for judges in the hands of the government, uh, somehow stopping the use of investigative agencies to uh, to uh, blackmail judges, which is also something that has been happening. So that's it.
Is there any legal option available which can undo the withdrawal of criminal cases against politicians, specifically the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh?
Yes, one can challenge the withdrawal of those cases. One can go to the High Court. But as I said, you see the state of the judiciary. Some of the High Courts are still doing good work. The Allahabad High Court is one High Court. So one can go to the High Court to challenge the withdrawal of criminal cases against this Adityanath. And somebody should go there. That is a legal option available. But the Supreme Court's role in all this has so far not been very good. But recently, because of the focus that was brought on the Supreme Court due to my contempt case, I think that we are seeing some signs of improvement in the functioning of the Supreme Court also.
Last question, sir. How to ensure and protect our right to dissent, and what is your advice to the present youth?
No, my advice to the youth is to firstly make themselves aware of what is happening in this country. The country is going through the worst crisis since independence. We are fighting for the survival not just of our democracy, we are fighting for the survival of civilization itself in this country. And therefore the youth need to now wake up, organize themselves and stand up against this sort of fascism that has taken root in this country. And the youth must also lose the fear of being sent to jail, because unless we lose that fear, we will not be able to take on this kind of a fascist government.
Thank you so much, sir. While listening to your speech on creating a movement to reform the democracy in our society, I remember these lines of Bhagat Singh. Merciless criticisms and independent thinking are the two necessary traits of revolutionary thinking. Thank you, sir, for gracing our occasion and patiently answering our questions. We are immensely grateful to have you with us, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir. It is essential to acknowledge the continuous support given by Mr. Henry Tuffey, advocate with extensive experience in criminal law and functioning as the Executive Director of People's Watch, which is a national human rights organization. People's Watch is engaged in a program of human rights monitoring, legal intervention, Institute of Human Rights Education, which has progressed into 18 states of India, reaching over 5 lakh students in 5,000 schools with over 5,000 teachers. Without him, the formation, existence, and future plans of this YHRD club would be questionable. It is our utmost privilege to be a fieldwork students with an organization such as People's Watch and Henry Sir. Over to you for the presidential address, sir.
Thank you, Kavitha. Thank you, Dr. Miriam. Long association, 20 years. Very privileged to be having this association with your department, your college. And Prashant, thank you very much for being with us on this very busy day for you. I know you're delivering today an address in the afternoon in the Gandhi Peace Foundation. I can only be happy that that our young Human Rights Defenders Club kept their word and ensured that they finished it exactly within the hour that you promised. And that, I think, is what young people do. We don't do it, that they do it. And they have shown us that they will do it. And they are MCC products, so I'm sure they are better off in doing it than anybody else. First, big word of thanks, Prashant, for being here with us and enlightening the young minds. And I'm sure the students go back enriched on a day which is special to all of us, on a day which we usually used to forget, on a day which never made too much of meaning for us. But now, more and more, to carry on the task that you presented here today to us, calling upon youth to ensure that we defend the Republic, that we don't only defend the Republic, but we also defend the civilization, our rich civilization that has to be defended. And I think on this particular day, we go up with the results. And thank you so much, students, for organizing this and keeping us young, with associating us with a body like the Young Human Rights Defenders Club. I love the name. Yesterday, I was discussing this with somebody who wanted a meeting in the morning, and I said, no, there is no possibility. I'm doing this in association with the Young Human Rights Defenders Club. And they said, what? Young, you? I said, no, they are doing it. They have brought us there because they want to keep us young as well. So thank you, Salamon, Raja, and thank you, Kavitha. And I'm sure there are more people to your list. I don't know, but I want to and the space that was given, and the space that was by your department for carrying on with this work. I think that is amazing, and I want to honor the college for within the academic space that is available to all of you, which I understand is shrinking more and more these days. Still, that you are able to allow students the space to be able to think critically, to work critically, and I'm sure I have your colleague here, whom I've had the pleasure of having as an intern several years ago. I don't know how many years ago it was, but some time ago. And now I have the pleasure of having Salamon Raja as an intern. You asked him to come for 1 day a week, but Salamon Raja is doing 2 days a week. And what has happened is the intern subject matter that he has taken has now infested, and other interns who are joining are also getting onto the same subject. And I'm saying this in public because I think this is how young people prepare themselves for a career which is going to be very, very difficult. Comparing to what we have had as a career, your career is going to be very, very difficult. And colleges like the MCC, departments like the social work department of MCC are places which will prepare you the hard way, I'm sure the hard way, for being able to face the challenges that you will all have to face. And we hope those challenges become slightly lighter than what we anticipate them to be. Having said that, I also want to recognize that this young human rights defenders club is a product of someone who attended a 21-day program on human rights education, and that humbles me a lot. That really humbles me a lot, because it was like a joke that we planned that, and once I had entered it, then did I realize what I had actually opted for. One session in the morning from 9 to 10:30. Imagine 193 participants. 193 participants from 9 o'clock in the morning, which means they came inside from 8:30 because the rush of entering was there, and we were very careful because we needed to keep some people out. And you know what I meant by that. And I'm sure the gateway here has been so far handled very, very well. I have seen that your entry process is very, very strictly monitored, and that is how it has to be. For us, it was in the month of May, so Zoom meetings were not popular by then. Now everybody prefers Zoom meetings. Those days, we did not know how to organize it. Neither did the participants know how to participate. So this was a one leading one. I mean, I hate using the word, but that is how we understand. So the blind leading the blind was the process where we learned, and then again come back in the afternoon at 4 o'clock for another session till 5:30 and a reflection session continuously. That we had it for 21 days with evening reflection sessions with activities given to them. And at the end, I thought that the critics, they would tear me to pieces in the evaluation. And I see that, well, they didn't do that, but I see products like this. And therefore, I'm very, very proud, extremely proud of Salamon Raja for the initiative he has taken. I'm sure, Salamon, the initiative you, Kavitha, and others, together with your department support, are initiating now is going to be a game changer for this country. A game changer for social work departments in this country, and I say it from the bottom of my heart, and I want to wish you all the best in this presidential address. And I want everybody here gathered. I think there are a few more left in this program. There are 310 here, and I saw on the Facebook there are another 300 and odd who are following. I want to assure all of you. But what you are doing is what the United Nations is mandating us to do. In the year 1995 to 2004, they had a UN decade on human rights education. Nothing happened. Nothing happened in this country. We did something in human rights education in schools, totally unaware of what the United Nations was saying. And I'm telling you the truth. It was in the year 1998 that I realized that the UN decade of 1995 to 2004 had started. I didn't know that. That is the way United Nations functioned. The secret decade of human rights education, as I call it, because it was actually like a secret. The secret broke only in the year 2004, when many people came to know that 10 years had already passed. And we are a country of contract system. So the contract was given to the National Human Rights Commission. The NHRC contracted it to the NCRT and SCRTs or whatever it is for people to NCTE at that point of time, and nothing much came at that point of time. Then you had what you called the World Program on Human Rights Education. The first program, phase 1, was 2005 to 5 to 9, focusing on primary and secondary schools. Then was the second phase from 2010 to 14, which was focusing on teachers, educators, law enforcement officials, and the like. The third phase was from 15 to 19, which focused on media professionals and journalists. And the last phase, my dear friends, is from 20 to 24, and that is human rights. And therefore, your launching of a young human rights defenders forum in the year 2020 has meaning because you're doing it in consonance with the UN's World Program on Human Rights Education, which is focusing now for the next 5 years on youth. And I'm saying this because all academic institutions are concerned about resources. And you need resources if you want to reach out to more people. And I like the name youth, young people. I mean, Salamon Raja corrected me and said, sir, not youth, sir, young people. And that is why we're including you, he said. So, young people. Miriam, you are also included in that. I'm sure they're including you more than me. This will give you access. And I want to say this in public because there are other colleges which have registered here. None of these colleges ever use this money. Please approach the United Nations. Tell them that you have inaugurated your club and tell them you need resources to take awareness on human rights to these young human rights defenders inside university and outside university to ensure that this decade is made meaningful. And you wait and see, you will be the only people who will be doing it across the country. That is how it ranches. And I want to assure you publicly, I am accompanying you without putting this name People's Watch anywhere. Don't go on putting this name People's Watch. It doesn't, we think if the name is not there, you are safe, I am safe. So let's continue to be friends. Friendship doesn't need to put banners and all that. And I will definitely journey with you to see that access to UN funds is not foreign funds, luckily. So don't be bothered about FCRA. Your college doesn't need to be bothered about FCRA. UN funds are UN funds, and they have a duty to give it to a body which calls itself Young Human Rights Defenders Club. That's number one, the message. Number two, I think it is important for all of us to know that from the year 2011, we have a UN declaration on human rights education and training. And therefore, it will be important that in the courses, what I love in this planning, which your faculty members were also part of, was the determination on the part of these organizers, Kavitha and Salamon, that you will educate, you will raise awareness, you will create discussion forums, and you will defend. But doing this, first you said you will prepare people with a 5-day or more days online orientation course for young human rights defenders. People never start like that. And you have started the best way. And to do that, your second opening is to ensure that the Declaration on Human Rights Education and Training of the United Nations of 2011 becomes the platform on the basis of which you take this forward. And I will ensure that the whole world comes to know about this initiative that you are initiating. It's very, very important. An academic institution should continue as an academic institution in pursuing all these matters, including research, training and research. And the second offer that I'm making is to immediately approach the National Human Rights Commission and tell them, please, don't give us the usual 1-day program, 2-day, they have got all these standards, 2-day program, 5-day program, and you can't do, if they give you 1 lakh for a 1-day program, and you say we will use that 1-day program money for 5 days, that is not allowed in law. So, it's crazy. But anyhow, we have to work in these crazy situations. But please access NHRC funds for training, reminding them that, and I will play my quiet role from behind to introduce for training young human rights defenders across the country in the World Program Phase 4, which focuses on youth. I think that link is important to build. That is the second. Approach the NCW. NCW has money. These people don't know how to use this money. And so let us use this money. In fact, I would suggest let them give the money to the State Human Rights Commission. And you work with the State Human Rights Commission, which incidentally has a good acting chairperson and a member at the moment. The only thing is that all their orders have so far stayed by the High Court, which I'm sure in a few days' time, when the High Court's third 3-member bench delivers its judgment, will get vacated. I'm very hopeful that the High Court will do that. And then you will see at least 200 orders which are stayed in various places will start getting implemented of the SHRC. The SHRC would be happy to work with young people like you. And it's an academic institution. It's a young human rights defenders platform that you have initiated, and I'm sure they will be happy to link up with you. And the next contact is our Sri Perumbudur. I always get the name wrong, so I'll call it the Rajiv Gandhi Institution, and you all know what I mean. The present director is for Professor Chokalingam, former Vice Chancellor of Manoormanyan Sundarrar University. His son is the Vice Chancellor of the youngest Vice Chancellor in this country, who has initiated this wonderful Jindal University in Sonipet, which excels in education, except that I find the name Jindal there a little difficult. But other than that, in academic institutions I've seen, I love that institution. And he's there. He's from Tamil Nadu. So they will be able to stand with you. Chokalingam will be able to ensure that lots of resources going waste for youth in Sri Perumbudur can be pumped by you people under your leadership and initiatives of the young people for throughout the state, so that you go from college to college to college to college. Salamon Raja, go from, I'm sure your MCC college is only doing half day, because I see aided, non-aided. So that's the magic word. So the I don't know which stream you belong to. If you belong to the morning stream, register your afternoon stream for this. If you are in the afternoon stream, register your morning stream for this, and move with resources earmarked only for youth. And they don't know what to do. Only for youth. And you can go from campus to campus within and outside Tamil Nadu, because this is the human rights education, the World Program, Phase 4, focused on youth. I thought I will concentrate on this. This is important. The rest of the things, the clarion call for rebuilding, protecting the Republic, for protecting our civilization has all been over. So Prashant has said it, and I can't say it better than what Prashant said. But the fact that you people had the courage to call Prashant is remarkable. Let me tell you, remarkable. Because this is how a Christian institution stands with people who are, this is witness. This is real witness. And there is nothing wrong in Madras Christian College is a Christian institution. You are a different type of a Christian institution. You are not the types which run after bishops. You are types which keep bishops far away from your institutions. And that is why you are more Christian than anybody else. And in your understanding of Christianity, you are able to bring secularism inside your campus and foster that secularism. And I think that is the beauty of a few Christian institutions that still remain witness to Christ in the way that Christ really wanted to be here. And therefore, I will be happy I'm extremely happy that you took this decision. Be proud of your decision. There are many people who are envying that decision. I know there are campuses where comments were passed. Why has Henry lodged with MCC in this program? Henry did nothing. You all know. We all know the secret. It was nothing with my name. My name was nothing. It was those two young people who pushed it. And that is how it will continue to be. But young people, don't forget, we want you to continue to be creative. Don't follow our models at all. We are wrong models. We are wrong models. We are not creative enough. But you people are creative. You people have energy, as Prashant said, and you people have new ideas. And I think this forum should develop with all. I only suggested resources. The ideas should come from you, and you've got a faculty which also has a number of young people inside who will be able to mold you. And I hope that this becomes a new virus in social work institutions. I cannot imagine a social work institution in the country which doesn't have anything to do with human rights. And you were the pioneer in these study sessions, national study sessions that you continuously organize, bringing young people across the the country to your portals. I had the privilege of coming, I think twice, once with Krishna definitely, and another time with Medha Patkar, if I still remember right. And I got myself educated, and that I think is real education. Please continue your work, my friends in the Young Human Rights Education Human Rights Defenders Club. All the best, and ensure that this virus of young human rights defenders spreads from campus to campus to campus to campus. But not only with knowledge, because human rights education is not knowledge alone. Human rights education is not only skills and attitudes. Human rights education is knowledge, skills and attitudes, as well as action. This morning I had a professor from Lady Doe College who said their students were deeply agitated because of what had happened in Uttar Pradesh. Yesterday, when a channel came to talk to me, I felt sick. I could not speak, because it was not only the case of a gang rape of somebody called Manisha today, but it was an incident which had left her neck paralyzed, broken, the spinal cord affected, the 4 limbs affected. And the worst part was the mother with her cries, asking to see the body of her daughter, only to pay last respects in the manner that they thought that their culture and religion would relish. And even that right was not provided. So we are in a very, very difficult situation. Don't think Uttar Pradesh is far. The incidents of Uttar Pradesh, unfortunately, are also carrying on to a slightly lesser degree in our state. Let us not forget, there is no time to sleep. For Satangulam, we all jumped. Don't forget that in the same Satangulam, 2 months later, one Francis Xavier, and I'm purposely saying it, one Francis Xavier had the audacity to take a Martin to the station under arrest, but not to the station, but to the police quarters, and torture him there and keep him under chains like a dog 2 months after the same incident where you and I protested in different ways. Some of you might have protested privately, some of you must have protested publicly, but all of you expressed your anguish individually, as families, as communities. For the first time, my dear friends, a person who was arrested on the 23rd night was remanded only on the 28th. The Constitution doesn't allow it. Our criminal procedure code doesn't allow it. It has happened. And I told the High Court yesterday, and the High Court, I said, I am ashamed, because the dignity of this court is being lost. This court is monitoring in public light, and the whole state and the country is watching. And while that watching is going on, you have the audacity in that same station for another person to have been treated like this, with 2 judicial magistrates who have given solid reports about the narration of the torture. It cannot happen. So friends, there is no time for us to remain quiet. We cannot remain quiet. We have to be disturbed. And if you're not disturbed, then that means the humanism in us is being robbed away. That should not happen. That should not happen. Be disturbed. Disturbed doesn't mean inciting you to violence. Disturbed means you protect campus. Your campuses, wherever the participants are from, you have protests in your campus. Why should you not have a protest in your campus? Your campus has 300 students. 3,000 students minimum per shift. You do 25 of you. At the entrance, inside your college, no khaki can enter. But that is how you create awareness. Human rights is about creating awareness. Collect signatures. Ensure that you bring this to the attention of national and state human rights institutions. These are all actions that you can undertake, but do it on campus. I'm not asking you to go outside with flags and sticks. No. That if you want to do, you do it later. Start it on campus. Let your 3,000 students register. Let the UP incident not be something that only women are concerned. Men should be concerned. Nirbhaya got justice, not the justice of court, but of everything else that followed, because men and young women protested together. Women's rights are not the business of women to protest. It is more for us jointly to do. That under your lovely trees, you can have, and I think the trees have grown now, no? You lost trees in December 2015, but I think the trees have come back. And I'm sure anyone who loves your campus will first go and plant all the trees back for various reasons. And your trees are back. In the beauty of your campus, your protest should continue. Take snaps, pass it on to the media. Let the country know that our academic institutions, boys and girls, are angry with such incidents wherever they take place. They take place in a BJP ruled state. They take place in a TMC ruled state. They take place in a Congress ruled state. Human rights doesn't see those barriers. We are people beyond that. We will always be beyond that. And you as academic students and teachers will be higher than me in upholding that. That is the involvement of academicians and students. And therefore, this is not something to tell you, go to your classroom, we will give you another lecture. No. Go to your classroom. Let us reflect together. Let us plan together. I always used to repeat, in my human rights education, which taught me more human rights than everybody thought we were doing in our campuses, not 5 lakh, 25 lakh. 25 lakh students. Mind you, with Pooja Kulkarni, who was, and I mention her name today in public because I respect her so much, one of our IAS officers, when she was the SSA program project director, she introduced what we called the Girls' Rights Education Program. And all that we had to do, yesterday on a public TV, I could not mention her name because I wanted to protect her. But in an academic campus, I have to mention good people's names. Bad people's names, we don't need to mention. Good people, we need to mention. And she said, Henry, I want to ensure that all my girl students in class 7 and 8 understand what girls' human rights are. And we did it together. I did it to a number of women activists who stood with me, and they did the most part of the work. And we did the small part of they came out with a curriculum. And at the time of teaching, I slowly whispered to her, I said, asking your male teachers to teach girls' rights education will be taking the girls behind, not forward. Because, sorry, my dear professors, who are male professors who are here, you are different, perhaps like me, but there are not many of people like you and me. And therefore, we said, can this program be taught only by women? And that IAS officer said, yes, Henry. So I'm saying these are possible in government schools. She never introduced a private school. People think all these things can take place in private schools, government schools. So go with hope. Hope is what we need. Yes, there is a lot of despair. But in this very, very situation of despair, it is you and I as young human rights defenders who will light that candle of hope in all the difficulties we have. Friends, don't forget, I come from an organization that very many people talk about. I also want to remind you, our bank accounts have been closed for 2,108 days today. 2,108 days today. But that doesn't allow us to remain silent, because we are a different lot and you are the same different lot. We don't have hatred within us. We don't want to have prejudice within us. I fight with the DGP of Tamil Nadu, but I go on saying he's my friend. Yes. We don't have private enmity against any. Human rights doesn't allow us to allow private enmity, private anger against anybody. That is not the culture. We belong to a community of people who want to build a new human rights culture where everybody will be respected. And that is the way these kind of incidents that we all unanimously condemn in Uttar Pradesh can reduce. Thank you very much. Congratulations once again. Keep your flags flying high, and hats off to the education that the Department of Social Work of your college is taking. Amazing work. Students, you are privileged to be there. You are privileged to have professors who don't speak and allow you to speak, who don't act but allow you to act, and who stand there to ensure that you are always protected. Use that protection to make mistakes on campus so that outside campus you don't make mistakes. You will be leaders, and I hope I will have the privilege of seeing Kavitha, of seeing Salamon Raja, and all your larger group of members as very, very strong leaders leading the human rights movement of this country. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for enlightening us about the need of human rights education and social actions that youth should do in our society. Also, thank you for believing in us to be a part and for your constant support in our work, sir. That we will ensure to contribute to do a part to the fullest through this YHRD club. Now, I would like to invite another strong supporter for the club, Mr. Asirvadam, Tamil Nadu State Coordinator for Human Rights Defenders Alert India. He is an active and passionate field worker who has worked for the welfare of the marginalized section of people and for their rights. In prominent cases like Tuticorin Sterlite protest and extrajudicial killing, also he has played a significant role in identifying the Metupalayam untouchable wall, which might be unknown to many of us. It is a privilege to have you with us, sir, and I welcome Mr. Asirvadam to give us the felicitation.
Thank you, Kavitha. Dear young comrade and friends, student belonging to the Department of Social Work, learned professor, respected head of the department, I am very happy to be with you this morning. The initiative that you, the student of the Social Work Department, have taken today from Young Human Rights Defenders Club. Again, Young Human Rights Defenders Club is a commendable effect, and I appreciate each and every one of you who has been responsible for the wonderful venture. Today, youth and college students have undertaken to focus their attention various activities that could bring about transformation in society. And you have chosen to put all our energy in the field of human rights defenders. That is new effect in Tamil Nadu by youngsters. The society in which we live in a society of discrimination. It is very unfortunate that the situation prevalent in our country is only worst situation ever in our land. Each one of is born with a caste and community tag, and all discrimination in our society find their origin in the caste identity. The country bows its head in shame today as we witness the horrible hand grab and ruthless murder of young Dalit girl in Uttar Pradesh. Most atrocious crimes today are based in cases. It is tragedy that has torn in preamble of constitution in pieces. Where is equality that our constitution has guaranteed for us? The UN Human Rights Defenders Declaration, the UN Human Rights Defenders Declaration has clearly that we as individual, as collective have the rights to learn, to develop and protect our fundamental rights. These rights are ours. These rights are ours at the national and international level. The Constitution also has given those rights unequally, but the human rights defenders are being hindered in every part of the country. Our freedom, our democracy have been by our forefather after grand deal of sacrifice and struggle there. They were great human rights defenders. This should be proactivity. This should be our role model. This should be our role model to eliminate discrimination from our mindset. We should all take on the proactive role of human rights defenders. That is why your initiative of coming together is human rights defenders as humans. I am pleased to assure you that I will be there with you in all your effort. The Human Rights Defenders Alert and People's Watch is already working in full swing in human rights activism. We will all be there with you. Once again, I appreciate you for the excellent move have made, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some of my thoughts with you. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your field experience as a human rights defender, sir. Also, thank you for your time and support. As students, we will do our part to the fullest. A few instructions for the participants. Kindly fill out the feedback form in the chat box to get the e-certificate. Also, the link will be provided on Facebook and YouTube. In the feedback form, there will be a link to follow us on Instagram and to join the Telegram group. For getting more updates on our club, please join if you are interested.
Kavitha, is anybody dying to ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I don't want any custodial debt resulting because it could not ask a question. One or two pressing questions.
There is one personal question, sir.
Personal. Pressing, I said.
Okay, as a human rights defender, I have a question, sir.
Please, Kavitha.
As a human rights defender, if we youth as raise our voice, we are immediately harmed and we are facing a lot of issues like draconian UAPA law. So how do we tackle it, sir?
I was very careful in what I suggested as actions to you. Not because I undervalued any of your capacity to protest on the streets, no. But I strongly believe that in an association, in an effort where the campus stands with you, then let us, through these activities, limit ourselves to campus-based activities, academic-based activities, preparing ourselves for days when we'll be outside the campus. I don't underestimate you, Kavitha, or any of your colleagues, that you should. I don't even want to tell you, don't go and join protests outside. That is not what I'm telling you. But I'm saying our campuses are huge. I am a student of St. Joseph's College, Tiruchirappalli. I mean, we could have 15 different protests in that campus. 15 corners of the campus, where over 8,000 students would hear us. And imagine each one of you on different campuses reach out to 8,000, 10,000, 5,000 students You are reaching numbers which are much bigger than your protests outside campus. And I think this is what I was saying. So UAPA is something that you should condemn in your protests inside campus. You should understand what UAPA is, understand against whom UAPA is being used, understand that there are professors like Dr. Miriam, professors like Dr. Sudarshan, who are now in jail, who are teaching students like you, and who believe in non-violence. Sudha Bharadwaj is a friend. He's such a close friend. I don't know whether you already invited her for one of your study sessions, maybe. Such a wonderful person, wonderful mother, wonderful single mother. And in jail for 2 years with no charge sheet. And after 2 years, the Supreme Court last week says, why are you coming on medical grounds? You should be entitled to bail. I've seen your charge sheet. There is no case against you. The last 3 nights, I've been working with somebody whose name I cannot reveal, who's being hounded by the NIA. Hounded by the NIA in the same case. So these are things that you need to academically be convinced that what Henry is saying is right and it is not wrong. And you've got so many people in Chennai, so many nice people in Chennai, so many lawyers in Chennai, committed women lawyers in Chennai who can enlighten you. And with this Zoom business, they come willingly. Because earlier to come to Tamram would be, oh, yo, Pasami. Now, no problem. We can lecture from wherever we want. So, act on campus is what I'm saying. But take up for study matters that you think you are convinced about. Do research. Do research. Back up your decisions by research. And fund your research with resources from the NHRC. This is the tactic. I am not, outside I will say something else. I know where I am speaking. Fund your research from the NHRC. NHRC gives 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs, or your department can every time have a continuous research project going on. And if they know that you're doing it with so many young people across the state, they will run and give you funds. You prepare your proposal, I push for you. I'm not a friend of the NHRC. I'm a critic of the NHRC. But people in the NHRC know that we are not bad people, but we are a nuisance value. And that is what we need to be. That's all. But we have no enmity there. I try not to have enmity anywhere. Because that is not our objective. So please, Kavitha, do that. Protest. Ensure you don't have an FIR against you. The state is only inching to see that there is an FIR against young people and spoil your career. I never had that fear. When I went to register myself as a lawyer, I had 8 FIRs against me. And the Bar Council said, no, afternoon, they said, no enrollment for you. I was the PUCL's state secretary. I went to my chairman, senior advocate. In the KV Shankaran was his name, and everybody will shiver knowing KV Shankaran's name. I walked up to him and said, sir, afternoon 3 o'clock, my enrollment, the time is 11 o'clock, and they say I cannot. He said, which idiot told you he cannot? So I couldn't repeat. No, I was then a young boy. So I couldn't say that idiot, sir. So I said, sir, the secretary there, sir, please go to that fool and tell him that 2:45, I will come to move. So I went back, not knowing the implications of what I was saying, and said, sir, 2:45, Mr. KV Shankaran said he will come and move, sir. He told me to stand outside, sir. That fellow got up. He said, ஏன்பா முன்னாடியே சொல்லக்கூடாது அவர் தெரியும்னு ஏன்பா இப்படிலாம் பண்றீங்க அந்த ஆள் வந்தா நான் செத்தையா ஓடி போய் அவரை வர வேண்டாம்னு சொல்லுப்பா மத்தியானம் 3 மணிக்கு ரெஜிஸ்டர் பண்ணு. That is how we people got registrations. 8 கேஸ் இன்னைக்கு ஒரு கேஸ் போட்டு கோர்ட்ல வந்து ஒவ்வொரு young man who has an ordinary FIR, stupidest FIR that you can think of, is wasting 1 year, 2 years to get the FIR squashed. I don't want to advise you all that. I'm saying on campus, protest. Your principal will participate in the protest. Your faculties will participate in the protest. You have faculties who believe in all these things. Do that on campus. Social media இருக்கு, தட்டி விடு, உலகம் ஃபுல்லா போயிடும். நீ எதுக்கு ரோட்டுக்கு போய் டிராஃபிக் போட்டு அந்த காக்கி சட்டை அங்க பாக்குறீங்க? You do it on campus. No khakis will be there, except perhaps somebody on campus you have who's wearing a khaki that particular day. Enjoy yourselves on campus. That is why I said, enjoy the protection that MCC will provide you. Academic campuses are to provide students protection, to experiment, not in the chemistry labs, not only in the physics labs, not in the botany and zoology labs, but on social labs, through your avenues for protest and on your campus. நாளைக்கெல்லாம் நீங்க காலேஜ் விட்டு போகும்போது சொல்லணும், அந்த கேம்பஸ் அந்த அவென்யூல வந்து நம்ம அதுக்காக ப்ரொடெஸ்ட் பண்ணணும், இந்த அவென்யூல இதுக்காக ப்ரொடெஸ்ட் பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னு ஞாபகம் வரணும். குழந்தை குட்டிங்களோடு வந்து கேம்பஸை காட்டும் போது சொல்லணும். Anything else?
There is one more question, sir. Shall I ask?
Yeah, provided it is within academic framework.
Okay.
கேளு கவிதா, கேளு.
What do you think about verdict on the Babri Masjid demolition case? Is it the end of democratic secular India?
No. It cannot be the end of democratic secular India. It is the end of people's belief in a judiciary which is independent. அவ்வளவுதான் சொல்ல முடியும். டெமோக்ராட்டிக் செக்குலர் இந்தியா வந்து போச்சுன்னு நீங்கள் இத்தனை பேர், நான் யாரா கவிதா யாருன்னு கேட்டனா, சுதர்ஷன் யாருன்னு கேட்டனா, யாரோ we are all sitting here from different backgrounds. I don't even know who these people are, what is their community, what is their religion, what is their caste, etc. And we are all beautifully living together and talking together. That democratic secular India is not gone. So that judgment definitely is making secularism, is challenging secularism, but it is not gone. As long as you people are there, it is not gone. What has gone is people's trust in the judiciary has gone. And so therefore, this is not Henry's opinion. This is all what Henry is being confronted with in the last 2 days outside. பார்க்கிறவன்லாம் இதான் கேட்குறாங்க. நாங்க பேசினா you are speaking against the judiciary. I want the judiciary's dignity to be upheld, because only then the rule of law in this country will be upheld. Only then the constitution will be upheld. But when judgments like this come out and contradict themselves so blatantly, so that in the tea shops they are talking, academic institution research for tea shop best analysis is going on. And the tea shop analysis I'm sure many judges will put their head down in shame, because they also agree with us. It's not that everybody is communal. But unfortunately, that is the situation. But we will see. There's an appeal, and there are people who have assured they're going on appeal. And when the appeal goes to the Supreme Court, there will be a change of judges. There will be change of chief justices. Let's have hope. Prashant Bhushan gave hope oda பேசும்போது நான் நீங்க ஏமா ஹோப்போட பேசக்கூடாது? என்ன சுதர்ஷன், கரெக்ட் தானமா?
எஸ் சார்.
ஓகே, அங்க யாரும் கை தூக்கி இருக்காங்க? தெரியாம கை தூக்குனாங்கன்னா தெரிஞ்சு கை தூக்குனாங்கன்னு தெரியல. ஓப்போ F15 இஸ் raised hands. யார் அது? ஓப்போ F15 தெரியல. They're not interested.
Okay. No more questions.
முடிச்சிடலாமா?
Yes. Thank you for giving a clarity and showing a dissent to the injustice, sir. As a convener, I would like to extend my gratitude to thank our Department of Social Work for aiding to create this platform, such as this, also for their continuous support throughout this fieldwork process. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Ruth Dorcas, the SEVA chairperson, to share the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Kavitha. On behalf of the Department of Social Work, aided Madras Christian College, first of all, I'd like to greet everyone who's present here. It is my privilege to be sharing the vote of thanks on this occasion of the inaugural of the Young Human Rights Defenders Club in our department. First and foremost, I would like to thank our guest speaker for the day, Mr. Prashant Bhushan. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule and for being a part in our inauguration, and also taking time to patiently answer the questions that were asked. I would also like to express that we are very fortunate to be working and learning from such great mentors like Henry Sir, Asivadam Sir, Priya Ma'am, and in fact, the entire team of People's Watch. And definitely their insights and their encouragement has led to the formation of this club. We would have already seen how we could have seen a glimpse of how encouraging Henry Sir and People's Watch has been. I would also like to thank the head of the department, Dr. Miriam Samuel ma'am, and all the staff of the Department of Social Work, without whom such a project initiation would have not been possible. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants, the students, and all the other interested people who have participated in today's program. Thank you all so much for joining us. And as we embark on this journey to create awareness among youth, to perceive issues through the lens of human rights perspective, I hope and pray that we move forward in order to uphold the motto of this club: to discuss, act, and change. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all the participants for joining us today. Let us discuss, act, and change this world together. For more updates, do follow us on Instagram and Facebook at YHRD Club. Thank you all once again. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry sir.
Thank you all. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, Salamon and Kavitha, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes, so now it should move forward, and sir has given you a lot of suggestions.
I see Solomon smiling only today, ma'am. I never seen him smiling. Kavitha, I've not seen her face too often, but Solomon மூஞ்ச பார்த்திருக்கேன் கவிதா. அப்படியே சீரியஸா அப்படியே worried-ஆ. ஏதோ நடக்குமா நடக்காதா? ஏதோ வம்பாயிருமா? நல்லா இருக்கு Solomon. So nice.
Very good. Very good. And lot of practical suggestions கொடுத்திருக்காங்க sir about all the funding that's available and all that. So I think you can definitely, do a lot of discussion in your fieldwork and with your fieldwork supervisor, and we can write some proposals and take this forward into the next phase, training phase. So into